this is the most difficult.
No, here. It is very important, Pathikrit, that this was finally said. For too long, we have either been awed, cowed, beggared, or been so apologetic about ourselves that it's been shameful. Now, the reality is the Americans do all sorts of crazy things, support all sorts of crazy activities across the globe. You name the military junta or a dictator that the Americans have not supported. Think of all the assassinations and coups that they've tried in South America. Think of what they tried in Cuba. Think of the fact that it was the Americans who actually used nuclear weapons, the only country to have done so. Now, after that record, they gave two hoots about what the rest of the world has to say, and hopefully they self-improve. This message needs to be equally clear from here, Pathikrit.
Rishabh, I think one of the best things that has happened in the last 3-4 years under Modi government is that we have started speaking the truth in a brazen manner without being apologetic or a pacifist about it. For the first 40-50 years of this country's independence, we were far too concerned about every step about what the West would think about us. You know, I'll give you an example, Rishabh. An average American, when he sings the national anthem, he would put his right hand on his left chest. And that's the kind of respect they show while singing the national anthem. Unfortunately, it is the same West which respects the nationalism of their own country and the kind of respect they still show to the World War II veterans. That West then bred this left liberal elite intellectuals in these developing countries like India, and who, unfortunately, Rishabh, who for the last 40-50 years have tried to inculcate this feeling and psyche that anything related to nationalism is nothing but right-wing, mindless extremism. This is what the left-leaning
and let's call it out.
No,
let's call it out. Pathikrit, since you mentioned it, I've just come out, literally this afternoon, me and a couple of our colleagues from the Sunday Guardian have put out a YouTube video, because here, let me define it. I'll define it for you. Okay. What the hell is left, liberal and right in the current context of India? It doesn't exist. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense because the Americans think like this, that, oh, if you are pro-green, if you are pro the environment, if you are pro-abortion, if you are pro LGBTQ rights, then you are left liberal Democrat. If you want to do fracking in Alaska, if you think and promote abstinence, if you're against abortion, if you want a Supreme Court judge placed so he overturns Roe versus Wade, then this is conservative right. This distinction does not exist in this country. I can tell you that when it comes to environment, to plastic bans, to electric cars, electrification, solar alliance,
absolutely.
What is that? When in this country, I can tell you, me personally, when you talk about LGBTQ rights, I've sits right here on this table and campaigned manically for them. Talk about abortion, talk about rights of women, calling out sexism, Me Too campaign. We've all stood here and spoken about them. So if in the same breath I'm saying I'm proud of my country, and you Americans should be lecturing us, and you Britishers should not be lecturing us, and you NYT and BBC and Al Jazeera have no right, that does not make us some right-wing maniacs. It's complete hubris, Pathikrit, and about time we called this out for what it is.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you, Rishabh, what you said. You know why I say this? I agree 100%. We have been the most liberal cultural civilization in the world, but unfortunately it's the West that, taunted us, called us rustic when we used turmeric and neem. They taunted us when we used charcoal for brushing our teeth. Today, some of the Western companies actually use charcoal, neem, turmeric in their toothpaste.
Charcoal filters, Pathikrit, I was reading about a German company that is now mass producing, using great German engineering, mass producing patte wali plates as a plastic alternative. Patte wali plates where we in melas when we were young kids used to eat on. The banana leaf and others. And I'm supposed to be apologetic about this?
No, we are the most liberal and conservative people when it comes to conservation of nature. That was taunted upon us. Today, the same West does the same thing which our ancestors, predecessors did for thousands of years when it comes to conserving the nature and only taking that much from the nature which is needed. We never believed in, mindless exploitation of the nature. We believed and we worshipped nature. The whole.
So the time has come to call it out. And I began with this, Pathikrit. I'm sorry to interject. Let me quickly get to the Wing Commander. Wing Commander Mathiman. Now, the reality is, we have forgotten this. We were talking about Mahatma Gandhi for all day before yesterday. But we've forgotten the one principal lesson. What was